Chancellor, it is with great pleasure that I present David Edgar to you as an honorary graduate. David Edgar is one of the great figures of British theatre and has been for almost 50 years. He's the author of more than 60 plays which have been produced by the Royal Shakespeare Company, the Royal National Theatre, on Broadway, and indeed all over the world. Now, that makes David sound like an establishment figure, and in one way I suppose he is. Few contemporary writers have been more successful, influential, or acclaimed. But we should recognise what drives that achievement. To see a visionary campaigner for social justice, a tireless analyst of our political troubles, hopes, and possibilities, a pioneer of anti-racist struggle. Like Dickens' infant phenomenon, David Edgar was a child of theatrical parents. And despite his work as a journalist and academic, his many screenwriting credits for film and television, his work as a professor and teacher of playwriting, he is, at heart, a man of the theatre, the creator of innumerable nights of theatrical pleasure and thought for audiences around the world. He began young. If my counting's right, by the age of 31, he'd had 21 full-length plays and 17 short ones produced. And that was about the time that I first encountered David's work in my very first term at university. His play, Destiny, had recently been produced to great acclaim by the Royal Shakespeare Company. And probably like every student drama group in the country, I imagine, we were amazed and delighted to find a playwright whose work spoke so urgently and eloquently to those troubled times. Destiny was a play about the shocking success of the National Front, essentially a fascist party in Britain at that time, and its roots in our imperial and colonial history. It was the first of David's great sequence of plays for the RSC that include Maydays, Plays and Players, Best Play Award, Pentecost, Evening Standard, Play of the Year, The Prisoner's Dilemma, and Written on the Heart. In their many different places and times, they share an impassioned social commitment and remarkable theatrical dynamism, a theatre of ideas in action. Michael Billington, in The Guardian, compared his work to that of Honorary de Balzac, the great chronicler of 19th century society. Like Balzac, he wrote, "David Edgar seems to be a secretary for our times." And that affinity may be one reason why David is also one of the great stage adapters of such radically different works as Gitta Sereni's Albert Speer for the National Theatre and The Jail Diary of Albie Sachs and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for the RSC, and supremely, the amazing, hilarious, and deeply moving 8-hour adaptation of Charles Dickens' Nicholas Nickleby, in 2 parts, a whole day at the theatre, 40 actors playing 127, I hope I counted right, different characters. It took London and Broadway by storm. It's a truly path-breaking work that transformed the whole genre of modern stage adaptation and radically extended the very possibilities of modern theatre experience. It also showed how truthful, funny, and relevant Dickens' work is today. David recently returned to Dickens and the RSC with a brilliant new adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Working with him made me realise just how thoroughly he researches his works. The emails would pop in, seemingly on a daily basis. What is the difference between a dry grinder and a wet grinder? What is a locomotive hearse, exactly? Seriousness, yes. Solemnity, never. There's a comic brio to all his work, a sparky subversiveness, a joy in the creative process from earliest inklings to triumphant first night. What marks David's writing, and indeed his character, is its moral and political integrity. Not for him the lurch to the right, the easy acceptance of the current pieties of the left, or the endless packings and adjustments to the comforts of the middle ground. Politics is more interesting, more troubling, and more hopeful than that. When our political culture can seem so debased and venal, political thinking so cliched and short-term, it's deeply heartening to learn how, as in Shakespeare's work, the drama of political action can show us a more truthful and affirmative path. Verbal dexterity, structuring intelligence, a generous anger. These are the hallmarks of David's writing. But there's also surprise, danger, and wit, the ability to turn a scene on a sixpence and give audiences moments that touch the heart and take your breath away. Chancellor, for his preeminent work as a dramatist and profoundly democratic and inclusive practice and vision, it is with great pleasure that I present to you David Edgar for the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
Through the power vested in me by the University of York, I have great pleasure in conferring upon you the degree of the degree of Doctor of the University honoris causa. Congratulations.
Chancellor and all of those whose achievements we're celebrating today. First of all, to thank the University of York for this great honour, my friend John Bowen for his wonderfully kind words. Praise from him about my work on Dickens is praise indeed. And Suzanne Thorne for so efficiently and patiently organising my and my wife's stay here in York. It's not the first. I've addressed and attended conferences at your beautiful university, and my last visit was to perform an autobiographical solo show in your splendid drama studio. Last month, the University of East Anglia, where the novelist Malcolm Bradbury founded the first creative writing MA in 1970, announced severe cuts in staffing and budgets. Probably due to an immediate and impressive media campaign, UEA novelist graduates McEwan, Chevalier and Ishiguro hitting the airwaves big time, creative writing will largely be protected. But surprise, surprise, the axe will fall overwhelmingly on your subjects, on the arts and humanities, including English, literature and language. Not again for the first time. In 2014, Education Secretary Nicky Morgan made her notorious claim that pupils who focus on arts and humanities risk restricting their future career prospects. Not true, as it happens. You're just as likely as science and technology graduates to get a job. Since 2010, the number of students taking arts GCSEs has fallen by a staggering 40%. On Monday, the Prime Minister announced that the government will force universities to limit the number of students taking allegedly low-quality courses, disproportionately hitting poorer students. And all this at a time when vocal commentators are pushing the idea that a so-called new elite of university graduates are seeking to impose their so-called luxury beliefs on climate change, gender equality, diversity and so on a majority they hold in contempt. Echoing your opening words, Chancellor, I'm proud to be receiving a degree from a university whose core principles insist that freedom of inquiry and expression is dependent upon equality, diversity and inclusion. Whatever your views may be, they are not luxury beliefs, and you have not studied luxury subjects. In their contribution to the great leaps forward in humanity's understanding, the arts and humanities are almost always ahead of the game. As William Blake asserted, what is now proved was once only imagined. Talking of the power of the imagination, I like to cite 5-year-old Lucy in the painting class of the Bible Belt School in the southern United States, whose teacher asks her what she plans to paint today. "I'm going to paint God," announces Lucy. "But," says the nervous teacher, "no one knows what God looks like." Says Lucy, "They will now." Thank you, congratulations, and good luck.